Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm George Thomas. Today, Maui County is suing the Hawaiian Electric company over the wildfires. We'll have details. Plus, the Republican Party just completed their first presidential debate. But on the Democratic primary, President Biden is facing some challenges.
You know, I think Joe Biden has done some good things for the country, but I would also like to see some newer, younger candidates.
See other reasons why some voters want more choices. Then later, we share the story of two friends coming together to create a unique way to read and understand God's Word.
One thing we think God is doing is that He's helping people see the Bible as a really important part of their life. And our contribution to that is helping people see the Bible through this paradigm of biblical theology.
All these stories and more are coming up next from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you so much for joining us. We begin this half hour with the latest in Hawaii. Maui County is suing the Hawaiian Electric company over the wildfires that devastated the area. They say the utility company negligently failed to shut down power despite extreme high winds and dry conditions which they believe caused the wildfires. Witnesses and video footage indicate sparks from power lines ignited fires as utility poles snapped in the winds. The wildfire killed at least 115 people, and more than 1,000 people are still missing. Operation Blessing is in Maui, helping with relief and recovery. They offered fishing supplies to local families. This is significant as some people there are watermen who love and make their living from fishing in the water. You can find out more about what Operation Blessing is doing in Hawaii and how you can help by visiting ob.org. Former President Donald Trump was booked and released on a $200,000 bond last night at a jail in Atlanta. He surrendered on charges that he illegally schemed to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia and also posed for a mugshot. Trump and 18 others were indicted last week, all accused of participating in a conspiracy to overturn his presidential election loss to President Joe Biden. Trump commented on the charges, saying he did nothing wrong.
This is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice.
The former president shared his mugshot on social media, and his presidential campaign is using it for fundraising. He is the first former president in the U.S. history to be indicted. Authorities in Pakistan are giving money to Christians who lost their homes when Muslims rioted in their neighborhoods. Hundreds of Muslims rampaged through a district of Jaranwal in Punjab. This after two Christian men were accused of desecrating a Quran. Nearly 100 Christians lost their homes in riots, and as many as 8 churches were destroyed or damaged. Pakistan's government is giving each household 2 million rupees, about $6,800 in compensation. Back here at home, the Biden State Department has taken up a new initiative in its foreign policy, promoting gay, lesbian, and transgender rights across the globe. Some critics call it ideological colonialism and say it harms U.S. interests. Dale Hood has a story.
One of the first things Joe Biden did after entering the White House was to order government agencies to put the U.S. at the forefront of the global fight against anti-LGBTQ laws in other nations, many of them Christian nations.
Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Year. Happy Pride Life.
Biden has appointed an international envoy for LGBTQ issues and made Pride Month a fixture at U.S. embassies. This is a major foreign policy shift, deprioritizing the fight for religious freedom and elevating the struggle for the rights of LGBTQ persons. Tony Perkins is the president of the Family Research Council.
Under the previous administration, religious freedom was a top priority in our foreign policy. Now, one of our top, if not the top, issues for this administration, it is the promotion of LGBTQ.
The Biden administration now stands accused, in the words of one former diplomat, of trying to blackmail Christian nations in Africa, threatening to hold back assistance if they don't support LGBTQ. It vows to threaten nations with the full range of diplomatic and assistance tools and, as appropriate, financial sanctions, visa restrictions, and other actions.
Countries are being forced to change policies, whether it be pronouns, whether it be legal recognition of certain behaviors, in exchange for our foreign expenditures and foreign aid. This is ideological colonialism.
So far, U.S. pressure on African Christian nations hasn't worked. Uganda toughened its laws against LGBTQ this year, making the punishment for homosexuality life in prison, and the death sentence for homosexual sex with a minor or infecting someone with a lifelong illness like HIV. Kenya and Ghana are both looking to toughen their existing laws that already criminalize LGBTQ. Ugandan President Museveni told other African leaders last month that Africa should provide the lead to save the world from this degeneration and decadence, which is really very dangerous for humanity. Samuel Makundi, president of the Kenya Movement of Catholic Professionals and a UN-trained human rights advocate, told us the White House push for LGBTQ is an attack on African families, which are foundational not only in Christianity, but in African tradition.
We have so many issues to deal with. Why are you pushing something that is non-priority? Why are you trying to really, come and mix us up? So it's really, from a cultural perspective, we feel it's an affront. It's a war that has been declared. This is a foreign ideology being pushed down on us. You normalize what is abnormal.
Some believe the White House LGBTQ policy has now become a national security issue. While America tries to force on African nations what they see as a dangerous sexual ideology, China is simply helping them build roads and bridges.
We have a foreign policy right now, I hate to say it, from the Biden administration that's based on hectoring and moralizing, that's based on taking the most radical far-left ideas and basically building a moralizing foreign policy around that,
with the risk of pushing more developing nations into the arms of communist China. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thank you, Dale. With so much attention on the Republican presidential field, it's important to note that President Biden is also facing primary challenges. CBN News White House correspondent Abigail Robertson spoke with voters in Iowa about why they're open to more choices.
While President Biden has the full support of the Democratic National Committee, that isn't stopping primary hopefuls Marianne Williamson and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from campaigning across the country, including here in Iowa, as they try to shake things up for 2024.
Today, 57% of the people in this country are not making enough money to pay for basic human needs. That's food, shelter, and transportation.
The latest Quinnipiac poll has Williamson polling at 9% and Kennedy at 13%, with the incumbent president dominating the field at 72%.
I think it's time for America to turn the page. I think it's time for America to begin again.
While a sizable crowd gathered to hear Williamson.
She has a really cool history and just seems to be very liberal and open-minded, so I'd like to learn more about her.
Voters appeared eager to meet Kennedy.
I think he's got a real shot. I think a lot of people in our country really have had this feeling that there's a truth out there that has been inaccessible to a lot of us, and I think he's talking about it finally. He's giving us some insight into the way things are really run.
Kennedy supporters told CBN News they appreciate his unifying message in opposition to U.S. involvement in the ongoing war in Ukraine.
I think he's the candidate who is most opposed to continuing the war machine, and I think that he's an honest broker when he speaks to his public. I've never felt like he's lied to me.
I appreciate his approach in unification and harmony. I'm thinking outside of the box. I think Americans are really tired of divisiveness. The drama's exhausting.
Kennedy is widely viewed as a fringe, anti-vaccine candidate who's seen social media platforms pull his videos and flag him for spreading misinformation. Yet his questions about COVID and the vaccine seem to be resonating with a handful of voters, including former Republicans.
I think Trump dropped the ball a little bit in 2020 with the whole COVID thing, with Fauci and the lockdowns. I think that was, I don't think that was a good call. He doesn't admit any mistakes. And I think that was a mistake, and that's why I switched over to Kennedy.
I really think this is the right way. I'm excited what he's doing and happy to support him. And I used to be a conservative.
Both Williamson and Kennedy supporters are discouraged the Democrat Party machine is already fully behind Biden.
You know, I think Joe Biden has done some good things for the country, but I would also like to see some newer, younger candidates.
I think he's too old.
President Biden is one of the only 2024 candidates from either party to skip the Iowa State Fair this year. And thus far, his presence on the campaign trail has been sparse. Reporting from Iowa, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thank you, Abigail. Coming up, a major evangelical organization may face some issues with Israel's current government. See why after this break. You're watching CBN Newswatch. Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. The future of a major evangelical organization in Israel for more than 40 years could be threatened by the current government. That's because its workers have been blocked from obtaining visas. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us this story.
The International Christian Embassy Jerusalem tells Israeli media the government rejected their request for clergy visas because it determined ICEJ no longer qualifies as a religious institution.
We've faced about a 3-year period now because of COVID, because of 5 elections in 3.5 years. Mid-level bureaucrats in a lot of these ministries have been free to make their own decisions without proper supervision from above, from people who sort of see the wider picture of, say, the Christian support for Israel, how strategic it is for the Jewish state.
ICEJ Vice President David Parsons tells CBN News certain bureaucrats with a bias against Christians are trying to squeeze them out of all visa categories, including for clergy, work, and volunteer.
Going forward, long term, it would be hard to operate under these conditions. We have been told for 3.5 years that it's under review, but in the meantime, we've just been whittled away to where we finally went public with it.
After the dispute became public, the Interior Ministry's Population and Immigration Authority, responsible for providing visas, gave a statement regarding the situation. This issue has been discussed in the past. The new head of the Population and Immigration Authority, Eyal Sisu, is expected to reevaluate the issue, and decisions will be taken in accordance with the law and regulations, taking into account diplomatic considerations, Israel's relations with religious and other organizations, and any other relevant considerations. And just days later, that agency's chief of staff notified ICEJ's lawyer that the visa policy is under review and they would soon reach an understanding. According to the Jerusalem Post, the issue has also been brought before the highest levels of the Israeli government. The ICEJ first registered as a nonprofit organization in 1980 with the approval of then Prime Minister Menachem Begin. Its mandate, to encourage Christians worldwide to stand with Israel and the Jewish people. Each year, the ICEJ hosts the Feast of Tabernacles celebration, drawing thousands of Christian pilgrims from around the world to Jerusalem. Tensions have been growing since the current government took over late last year. In March, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed the Knesset would not advance any law against the Christian community after 2 ultra-Orthodox members wanted to make it a criminal offense to persuade anyone to convert to another religion. More than a decade ago, Netanyahu stated his belief that Christian support was key to the founding of the State of Israel.
I think that the many Christian supporters of the rebirth of the Jewish state and the ingathering of the Jewish people in the 19th century made possible the rise of Jewish Zionism.
Parsons says since they started, the ICEJ has also worked with the Ministry of Religious Affairs, which never had a problem with clergy visas.
And if this was allowed to continue and we were declared by someone not a religious organization, then our very existence is called into question.
Parsons hopes to see a resolution in their favor. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Julie. You can see more news from the Middle East on Jerusalem Dateline on the CBN News channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Still ahead, we'll take a look at the crowd-funded mega hit that's helping people of all ages around the world know the Bible. The duo behind this series tells us about the heart behind this project. Stay with us. Welcome back. A theology professor and a creative artist with a gift for storytelling. 10 years ago, this pair designed 2 videos to help their friends read the scriptures. Today, the Bible Project is motivating millions of people around the world to read and understand God's Word. Dale Hurd joins us again and brings us the story.
Tucked away in a quiet Portland neighborhood is an animation studio that is opening the Bible to millions in a new and fresh way. Some amazing things are happening behind that door. An idea of some college buddies has become one of the most successful ways to help people understand the Bible. During their college days, longtime friends Tim Mackey and John Collins would kick around ideas on how to get more people reading the Bible and understanding it better. The result was an animation experiment called Bible Project that at first only included 2 videos posted online for their friends. Less than 10 years later, Bible Project has more than 140 employees, creating more than 180 videos and 350 podcast episodes over the internet. With over 620 million views in over 200 countries and over 5 million subscribers worldwide. Michael McDonald is the Chief Global Focus and Strategic Relationships Officer.
None of us were smart enough to think about, like, would we create this big nonprofit out of this? This really was a passion project of 2 friends going, I think this would be helpful to not only just us, but some of our friends. And the crowd just caught up so fast in not only watching them, but wanting more of them. And they started helping fund them just with, $5 here, $10 there, until we had enough funds to make another video, and away we went.
After college, John served as a pastor before beginning a career making explainer videos for large companies. After Tim got his PhD in Hebrew Bible and Jewish studies, he became a pastor and seminary professor. Then they decided to join forces, combining Tim's Bible knowledge and John's creative abilities. And Bible Project was born.
This is just basically our workflow for one of our fully animated videos. So some projects are in illustration, some are in animation, some are writing, some are storyboarding.
Then I meet with the artist, and then we go through all this in detail, and then the artist goes and draws the beautiful version. So by the time I sit down to record, I've got this in my head. The first dispute, that's hard to say quickly.
That is hard.
The first dispute starts when God says that he still loves his covenant people, Israel, despite their failures.
Bible Project is trying to help those who only see the Bible as a collection of inspirational quotes. It takes on those difficult passages in the Bible that many Christians tend to avoid because they seem to be confusing or disturbing.
It's pretty neat to see kids from like the age of 10 who are even, writing in saying just how engaged they are in the scriptures. And then we've got like 85-year-old folks that are writing in going, I thought this was for my grandkids, and I never thought I would go back and read the Bible with new eyes.
With videos now in 56 languages, Bible Project is also reaching the Muslim world.
You find people in, Tunisia watching the Arabic videos and sending in comments of, I'm a Muslim who, has been interested in the Bible, and I didn't know how to, engage it or read it. And I found your videos on YouTube because they're free. And now they're opening up the scriptures in a unique way and understanding, what it's saying about Jesus.
So an experiment once meant to only help a few friends is today helping millions around the world to know and understand the Bible better.
One thing we think God is doing is that he's helping people see the Bible as a really important part of their life. And our contribution to that is helping people see the Bible through this paradigm of biblical theology, where you appreciate the Bible in its literary design, and you understand the Bible as a story, and you see how that story leads to Jesus, and then it just makes things, it's falling apart. It makes things more meaningful.
Dale Hurd, CBN News in Portland, Oregon.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. Coming up, an American nurse released in Haiti after being kidnapped shares a message of faith. We'll have that story next. Finally, today, for the first time, we're hearing from the U.S. nurse kidnapped in Haiti. In her first public statement, Alex Dorsonville, who was kidnapped by a notorious gang and held captive with her young daughter for nearly 2 weeks this summer, expressed a message of love for her captors and for Haiti.
I want you to know that I hold no grudges against you in my heart. That doesn't mean that I agree with what you are doing, especially what you are doing against your own Haitian brothers and sisters.
Some 1,500 people were killed in Haiti in just the first 4 months of this year. There are reports the ransom for Dorsonville's release reached $1 million, although it's not clear whether that was paid. What is clear, Dorsonville's message of forgiveness, telling her captors, quote, "One day I hope to hug you in heaven." Wow, thank God that she has been released, her along with her daughter. Folks, that is it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can find more of our awesome news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. And while you're there, why don't you tell us what you like about the stories you've seen here by emailing cbnnews@cbn.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you will join us again next time. From the headquarters of the Christian Broadcasting Network here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we wish you an awesome day. Goodbye, and God bless.